Okay, I went down a rabbit hole and I fell asleep last night because there was so much information. I was trying to get the gist of it. Because the people that I'm looking at right now are people that were part of the organization that were so close in tie with these people, not just some random, family from California that just, started following these people. So one of the ladies got really close to Baba's sister, and then there was another guy here that's talking about it. And so the guy himself is, he was a leader and founder of a Norwegian sect, and he resigned in 2000, discovering the cover up and murders and sex abuses. So he started figuring it out. It took these people some time. The thing, it was interesting because I was trying to understand the murder itself, because when they showed it on the documentary, it just said like a bunch of the guys came into the thing and then they set up and murdered them or something. But I didn't know like what the truth is of the story, because there's more information that wasn't put out. And I was trying to read through it. There's a lot to take in because you don't fully know the religion, right? So they'll use terminology and I have to go figure out like what that means over there and all this stuff. So um the they were saying that the guys that got murdered were actually students of his, and allegedly, like, I guess they were also like his sex slaves in some which way, or at least the alleged, like, they apparently were having sexual relationships with these young guys. And then there was some claim that they came in and killed the driver and somebody else, but six people died in this thing. I don't know. But then they said somebody ran off and took off, and I'm just thinking all kinds of different things because it's totally set up. And I was like, well, I don't, how do we know that somebody didn't lead them in there as a trap? Like, I don't know what the hell it is. So I'm just trying to get the full understand. And maybe it's just that nobody really knows the truth, and it's just like this thing is coming out. What we do know is that it's totally a setup. You could tell from the murder scene that it's a setup. And they're dead. While they're dead, they have these photos online. They have blood on their feet, which wouldn't indicate that somebody was running from something and then they got shot. It's indicating there's some mass struggle and everybody's bloody and they're running through all this blood. It's disgusting. And then when they're dead, there's like weaponry that looks placed. And it's really creepy because it happened at the same time that I just pulled up the PDF. So here's what's interesting. This lady, I don't know her. I haven't talked to her yet. I just discovered her. I may have run across her before, and I just, it's just information on top of information. But I was kind of like, how bizarre is this that that's going on at the same time that Issac is here in California doing this thing to start up the House of Blues and got all these people of color involved, right? And the perpetrators in my story are in connection. And I don't know. Like, there's so much to uncover in the story that I was like, I cannot answer because I don't understand. There's little things here and there that I went through. So I went in and stopped in at a Hindu temple one time to, just understand a little bit of their stuff, but I didn't get involved in, the deeper thing of it. So I can't really go, oh, this, that, and the other. So I'm just kind of going through it. And Baba's a ripoff of like all these different things. So he'll pull from that, he'll pull from Christianity, he'll pull from, God knows what he pulled from a lot of people. And then they're calling him plagiarist. Yeah, he uses like quotes. It'll be kind of biblical. They actually had a big sign on the ashram that said, cleanliness is the closest to godliness. And I was like, oh God, no. Okay, so this isn't even good in Christianity because it's not a saying. It's just a saying that got thrown out there. I forgot where it came from, but it's just, what the hell? Okay, so this guy resigned in 2000 after that. And then when you see his page, so the way that we used to out things online, mostly in the year 2000, was through forums and your own web page, because they didn't have social media the way that it does today. And I ran across these like pages. And if you go to this WordPress page, you're going to see it's just like that. It was definitely before 2009. This blog, I was trying to figure out when it was written. It is, I don't see a date on it, but the earliest comment was like 2009. And I believe that I discovered the information before 2009 because I was on MySpace and I had posted the photos of people I was reading. Like, there was something going, I read this, I read that. It was like all the, guru people and some other thing and some other thing. And I was just befriending everybody across the globe. I had I had everybody, so I didn't even know who anybody was on my thing. And during that, I just remember during that, which would have been 2005, 6, and 7-ish, I believe is when I discovered some information. That's what I'm thinking it was, because I was kind of like, yeah, I don't know. It just wasn't good. Like, I was starting to run across this. So I don't know if it was his stuff. It could be his stuff that I ran across. He's now at the age of 90. Is he still alive? Because when he wrote this, it says he's 87, September 22. So this guy would be, he'll be turning 90 this year. Is that right? And healthy and untroubled by beliefs I once held and investigated until they collapsed. So that wider and deeper understanding took their place. It is liberating to defend the facts and truth that have been made known to me. I was, for many years, the national leader at Sai Baba's organization in Norway, and I have a duty to aid those who Baba deceived, as I once promoted him. Many have contacted me for advice. Yeah. So it's kind of the same thing when I was talking about the LOA thing, but the cult people are still going at it, okay? And allegedly on here, the cult is actually still active, but even to the extent, I don't think it's as much as it is today. Now, see, I would have to talk to the lady that was involved in this thing, or him, or anybody, to explain to me how to figure that out, because when I'm talking to people, I don't know if I should go, is this guy part of it? I don't know, because when they're talking, they intermix and hybrid other religions, so it can be very difficult. One way is if I bring Baba up and they start in with their defense of him. I mean, that would be an obvious thing, but that topic did not come up. Did not come up. It just wouldn't have came up. They were trying to act like they're helpful people. The people that were around me that had the connection to the House of Blues people were presenting themselves as help, but they were demons, man. I had to get rid of all these people. It was so crazy. But not once did they mention Baba. Like, they didn't mention him. So I'm just kind of clueless going, were they part of that? And I'm just unaware of it. It could be, and I'm just unaware of it. And so I don't know. Nobody was trying to, well, I don't know what the hell they were trying to do. Tell me to go to some dude's house. I'm like, well, I can't tell you. I cannot tell you. I would, I don't want to be anywhere near these people, because they murder people and then they cover it up. And how much damage did they do here? We know they did the damage there, but I don't know how much damage they've done here. I would further draw attention to the fact that his teachings is far from universal, for it is very heavily based towards the Hindu faith and the avatar against basic tenets of Christianity and Islam, while Sai Baba himself exhibits enormous ignorance of other religions, as can be seen on various website analysis. His discourses and my extensive website concerning all aspects of Baba and his work, the unavoidable conclusion of my 20 years of practice, observation, and the study is that the words of Baba clash mutually on many vital issues. Well, which doesn't, It's like, and his actions are increasingly and most seriously at odds with his teachings. There's nothing less than sheer deceit. I know, isn't it such a crazy thing to follow something and at the end of it you're like, I was totally duped, man. I got duped. That's how I felt with Christianity too. But yeah, so when I start noticing, well, I noticed the Christianity because once you know one of them and then you start reading somebody else and then they're ripping off from, which tells you it came afterwards, but also it's not it's not even original. It's just based off of one thing to another, and Christianity is basically based off of other stuff to another and to another. All of them are like that. So the only way you can even understand that and not be duped by it is the education of as many religions as you can possibly go through. I mean, I don't think you need to know every single one. It's kind of like at a point you come across this road where it's like, oh, they're all basically the same and they rip off each other, and it's sort of like this thing, and then you can kind of identify, it could turn into these hybrids, and that's kind of where we landed. And then I just stopped, my studies because I felt like I didn't need to learn any more on that. I mean, what further can you learn from it? It's more like the only thing I would need to learn is that, oh, here comes a new one, out, and so now we got, Keith Raniere with this bullshit, right? But we know where it came from, right? We go, oh, through this group of people, this group of people, this group of people. But beyond that, we know that the person has a personality disorder. So we know that Baba has a personality disorder and he chose to abuse other people with that mental health problem. And then they do this. Like, this is one thing they do. If they don't do it as a full religion, they do it just in their home. So that's now where the study goes into, is now mental health, like the PDs that are causing someone to be this pile of shit. So I was like, wow, but they prey on the ignorance of people that are uneducated. Like, but I wouldn't call this guy stupid. If you're reading this guy here, he seemed pretty intelligent. He sounds more like a science-based guy that's very into information. And yet, he gets deceived into some kind of bullshit like this. And then, but he figures it out. He's smart enough to finally figure this out, because it's at a point you can't just disregard, the garbage that you're seeing. The female was present during the murders. And so that was the first person that I have run across that was actually present during the murders that they're talking about. And then some actions of that night that contradict what was in the public. So that was really interesting. And she was a hardcore follower there. She thought that she was brought from God to be close to, to be close to the sisters of them, which she didn't even know he had sisters. And apparently he did. And she learned a new language and to be able to converse with them. And then when she was talking, it was so crazy. The sister was dying, and he comes in just like the cult leader, the Christian cult guy from Orange County. It just reminded me of him right here, where he's like, everything's fine, you just think it to be fine, everything's gonna be totally cool, and then he doesn't heal anybody, right? He just like, it's totally fine, ignore reality, okay? We're gonna ignore reality. And then she dies, right? And it's just the same cluster F of a human. It's just they're doing different religions, right? Like, the one's doing Christian and the other one is doing, this bullshit right here. And they're both acting the same pile of shit. And I go, yeah, that's how that other dude was going on. And I call the cops on him, the other one, because he committed some crimes here. And the cops covered up for him. That's what I'm saying. I go, the guy is a total criminal. And he's still out here committing crimes. And at no means, like, he doesn't even run across the typical doctrine. He believes in prosperity doctrine, where God gives you millions of dollars, which I don't. This material bullshit. So he runs on that thing. He believes that he's going to be a millionaire. And so the objective to become the millionaire on both parties here is to get as many victims as you can, because they kind of even do math, you know. They're like, if I get 1 million people, because he's even saying, I want to get 10 million souls or whatever the bullshit is, because he's looking at them as a dollar amount. Because if I get $1 from each of them, I'm going to have $10 million. Oh, absolutely. So he's going on this thing. And I go, yeah, I was like literally 19 when I ran across that guy. And this lady that's speaking now, she was the same way. She's like, I was 18 and I got involved in this cult and didn't even know it. But you know what? On her level, her parents are kind of at fault in it, because they introduced her to this universe. And so she was really young. I guess she said she was around 9, 10, somewhere around there, where it became an interest because her parents really got into it. So she had a lead in into this universe, you know, of it seeming somewhat normal, whereas the rest of us, we didn't have that. So that was rather interesting to hear. And yeah, and then she felt it was her, you know, lifelong thing. I was like, at that point, do you even trust yourself anymore? I mean, really, like after that, you think the whole thing is like that, and then you throw yourself into it, and then it's all a sham. And then you got to question, like, why the hell did I feel this way? I mean, honestly, because when, you know, at the get-go of our stuff, it's not like somebody forced me into it or anything like that. I just had a thing to want to be helpful to people and change. You didn't want to see suffering. I mean, that really was a thing. It wasn't about gaining power and control and having people worship me. Unlike these people, the you know, the Babas and the cult leaders and all them, they're a different story. They actually don't care about helping people. They know that if they manipulate people enough in that way, they can get a lot of people, right? Because it's a numbers game. It matters. I don't care what their good works are, what you call good works. Their soul is dark and evil. Those things are just plots to manipulate you. They don't really care about you. So, yeah, it does matter. It does matter. We don't sit there and brush it off and go, well, you know, the works that he did, he gave free food. In fact, they were showing a video of that. I was like, oh, free food. That's going to get every poor person to love this guy to death. You know how effed up that is? It's not for the sake of helping people. It isn't. He needs them to be enslaved, and it's a way to lure and trap. It's the dangling carrot. And government does this as well, okay? So government operates in this manner. It does matter. So you look away from the so-called good works that they're doing. What is the deep down MO as to why they're doing it? That tells you the true character of these piles of shit. And then you get lured in, suckered in, and then they got you for life. So you really have to be on top of these people. Interesting. Okay, so here's another cult person. This is in 2020. I am so sad I did not believe in you first time I found you. I was very angry at this man, Robert, and his lies. They put quote unquote lies. It really made me angry. Then I went to a similar process of finding the truth, and I saw reality behind the leader of my Christian church. What they really were, politicians, men of business. Exactly. It's that. And the egoism, the fraud, the lies, the narcissism, the psychopathic behaviors. Yeah. So what I was breaking down in that is that a person that starts that to begin with has a personality disorder. Okay. So it isn't, oh, they got, you know, sucked into being greedy bastards later on after, you know, this. No. A type of person that would do that to begin with is that. So everything's about plotting and evil, and then you start to figure it out. You're getting duped by the disordered human. So the narcissism almost always is involved in a psychopath. I don't know. Those things go together as part of the psychopathy thing. But And so they're always going to lie. So that's always just going to be in it. They're always going to lie. They're always going to fraud. And they're always going to be a narcissist because they're a psychopath. It's that thing. Because it's just involved in their bullshit. And they're all rapists. So the rapist mindset comes out of that. It's not, an accidental action that just happens from a normal human. No, it's part of a personality disorder in order to go harm self and others. That thing is in there. That's what I'm trying to break down. And then explain how it ever all came about to begin with, which is the deeper history of everything. And I said the question was posed to me. And I always get thrown the toughest topics ever that nobody wants. And so we just kind of combat through, the grass. We're going through the grass. We're going through the forest. We're going through all the bullshit that's been thrown out here. And you look at you're trying to find the root cause of the entire thing. And when you go down the line, you find out, it's just some psychopathic dude that wants power and control. And then he enslaved a gender, and then it goes into all this other shit, right? Races and everything else. Those are afterthoughts. And they have a hard time with this concept as they're still shitting all over women. So but that's coming out of a narcissist, like a narcissist going, I'm above a group of people, right? Any group of people, I'm above them, right? They shouldn't exist or any of those things. And they will try to reverse it and flip-flop it and be like, well, you're targeting our religion. They're going to do all this stuff, but it should have never came about. But why is it so protected? Yeah, it's protected for a reason, but you're not talking about spirituality, though they manipulated this into just it being spirituality, but it's not. It's a cult, and it actually has doctrine. If it has doctrine and rules and laws to follow, it's a religion. Spirituality is more about, I think there's something bigger in the universe that, it's just something, right? It doesn't have an outline, rules and laws or anything, and it can change fluidly, right? Because you're just, things could be like this, whatever you want to believe. But some people don't even believe that. But that's spirituality. This is a cult. They tried to say, they always do this, because even Scientology did it. They're like, we're not a church. And then they go into court, and they're telling everybody they're a damn religion. And I go, well, why did they tell me when I walk in there that they're not a church? They're not a religion. They told me that to my face. So it's a total contradiction. So they tell people whatever, is going to work at the moment. Like, no, we're not this. You could join us, but we're not any of that. Okay. But then when it comes down to it, we're a church and we're a religion, man. You need to leave us alone. Yeah, they started this shit. And I go, that's interesting. No, they definitely are a cult. I mean, through and through, they're a cult. But because they have doctrine, they have rules, and they have things that you follow. That's a cult. Spirituality, this is not spirit. I can't believe they said that. This isn't. That's what Isaac said. He's like, This isn't any of that. This is spirituality. I go, you're an idiot. That dude would be the one, he would just do all kinds of bad things. I mean, every bad thing that you could ever think of under the sun, if someone told him to do it, he would go do it. It has to come from Baba, though. It has to come from a man. He doesn't like women, obviously. Okay, today I found some good videos on Baba's Truth, which I could not find years ago. Oh, no, I pulled it out years ago. You guys just don't like women because you don't listen to them. I don't know. It's Loani. I don't know if that's a girl. It might be. Okay, I have learned about narcissist and psychopath behaviors. When I was a child, I questioned Baba within my heart, but we had to trust God. Same way, we trust all corrupt leaders. Now I'm very rational, down to earth, and logical. I question authority and I trust the physical laws of nature. I do not believe in false miracles. Miracles are just natural process we don't have the scientific knowledge to understand. Well, we do. Okay, there's no miracles. Things are really just random chaos. And the human brain is strange because it's chronically trying to make sense of things that don't, it tries to do the pattern thing. there's definitely a science to this. They have people that study that, and it's just trickery of the human brain because we're faulty. Um, but it does it, I guess, to bring sanity to ourselves. I have no idea, but it has something to do with that area of study. And but things are really random and chaotic, and we chronically want to make things like safe, and you want to control the environment and make sure that things are not off kilter. Like you're chronically trying to, what is a homeostasis? You're trying to make things um make sense and feel safe and all these things, but the reality is everything's very chaotic, and it's things just happen, like these fire things, but totally it's like payback. I mean, let's just be honest. um but I'm just saying, it's just but that's from an accumulation of terrible humans, being corrupt and self-centered and not giving a shit about anything for that to happen. Like, there is some actions from humans that it's like if you ignore a thing for too long, then you get a tumor and cancer and it's too late to fix, right? But nobody, we don't know always why somebody would get a tumor to begin with. It's a horrible thing, right? Children get it, anybody get it. But they try to rationalize it and bring it into God gave a kid cancer. And I'm like, that's it. So this is what humans do to things like that. He is still untouchable, but one day all the truth will be revealed and accepted. Well, he's dead. I mean, he's untouchable in the minds of idiots, but I'm happy I never had a chance to go to India. However, I might have found the truth just like my Christian church, where I found such a great deal of evil. So yeah, they are able to see the same story and put it into this other religion, and it's still the same story, right? That was the underlying basis of the education that I was supposed to be getting from another guy, and what they were trying to convey, I believe, to me as a teen. And you'll figure it out. I still think that he believes in stuff that I think is hokey pokey, which I have the right to. And that's what they taught me, to be free will, right? And go figure it out yourself and come to your own conclusion. And that's where people should be telling you. Nobody should be trying to get you to think only one way, and you must think this, and we're going to force it into you. It's more like, I have the right to express my opinion to you, and I'm going to tell you what my opinion is to you, but I'm not forcing it, like I'm not making you do it. I'm not killing people in order to, follow my ways, or, make laws and throw you in prison because you don't believe this. It's this thing. As long as it's a thing where you don't harm other people. But unfortunately, all these people harm other people because they're disordered humans. That's why it would come to that. But that's why I'm saying the topic's so crazy, because I would not have comprehended that at 18. As forward thinking as I was at that time, no, you have to experience it first in the world. You couldn't condense it down into a topic and then just teach somebody it and tell them the same stuff right here. You have to kind of walk through it and then experience it and then question. It's like a process. You have to keep questioning, like, why, when I thought like this happened, that happened, this happened. It was a long process, and I'm, like I said, I was really glad that I went through it at a young age than doing it in the reversal, where it would just be, I die an ignorant idiot, and just spewing out bullshit that we're already long past, I wouldn't even say that my opinion on that stuff has changed much since the discovery of all that. I mean, I'd say mostly since that LOA thing. I think that was like the last straw of these idiots that I was like, I don't need to do any more research. We're done. I think we're done. I think right around there. Yeah, so it's been 2 decades now. So we haven't had any major changes in thoughts other than, when we're looking at PDs and, sexual misconduct and things like that. Those things, I think we've advanced quite a bit from that time period. It was bad then, and I was talking about it, but there's been a lot of more education on that topic. That there's still a little bit to go on it. But you said that properly. I admire your courage about the Baba and his mafia. He calls them a mafia. They pretty much are a mafia. Yeah, you can interchange it. They're a gang. They're a mafia. They're organized crime. They are cult members. I mean, all those things, you can interchange that. Yeah. Unlike you, I feel sure he had skills and powers that, to my mind, made them more dangerous. Most of us return time and time again, like drug addicts, to sit in his hot and foul-smelling ashram for glimpses of him. Ew. That made the visual and the sensory of that. I could just imagine. Okay. What were we thinking of? What made us do it? I cannot give answers to that, but I know if I ever met another Indian guru, I would I would turn and run the other way. Because you got manipulated. He preyed on your curiosity. It's like your curiosity, somebody's presenting themselves as that, like you kind of are curious, like, who the hell are you? Like, even if you wouldn't believe it at all, you kind of go, who the hell's this person that's running around as this total narcissist saying he's God, or some type of God figure, some type of, I have something that you don't. It's a human nature thing, I think, to sit there and go, who the hell is this? And your desperation for finding out the truth, like you gave him too much credit, you gave him too much room to, present these, lies to you, and you just fell into it. I mean, it's kind of that thing. It's the same thing in a relationship with another narcissist. They do the same thing. It's just he's doing it on the scale of, I am a religion, and call me mother. I can't believe everybody's calling him mother, but anyway, he's doing it in that presentation. So they're the same guys that come out like a Tim Ballard, that they do the harm on the population first, right? So they put you in a position to be powerless. That's the first part. Then they come in and go, I want to be a hero. And then they come in and harm you again. And then they want all the credit for being some fake hero. And then now somebody's getting busted for it. But that's basically the narcissist. Like, they do things to put you down. And then they come in and then they want the control and power to try to act like they're saving you from horrible things. But they put you in the position to be in horrible situations to begin with at the start. So you're down and desperate because your government's a pile of shit. And then you get preyed on by all these rich monsters, like all these monsters, right? And the government is ran by all of them. And they come in and they prey on you. And you're desperate because you want to get out of it, but they prey on you again. It's that thing. It's the mindset of these people. And they're gross. And they have a perception problem about themselves. They actually think they're good people. Some of them do. Some of them think they're good people. It's like, oh. So I always chronically joke about Christmas time every year. You need to give them mirrors because they need one. And yeah, so I'll say that because there's these ones that seem to have a perception problem about themselves. And you're trying to, get these people grounded and stop being a piece of shit, but they don't view themselves as a piece of shit. Some of them know they're a piece of shit, But some of them legitimately don't see themselves as a piece of shit. And I think that has to do with the bubble that they put themselves in. Because, like, they're not hanging out with me, right? So they're not hanging out with me. They hang out with other pieces of shit. And so they're all a piece of shit in a room together. And they go back and forth. And then they just listen to themselves talk, right? They're in a bubble universe. So they start talking shit about everybody underneath them and think they know it all. And then they go out and they promote government laws to harm groups of people that they don't hang out with. But they think they're good people. They do. It's crazy. They're piles of shit. Like, they're piles of shit. So I'm over here and they're like, and then they turn around telling them to mute me because I'm telling them they're a pile of shit. And I go, that's how they do it. They bubble themselves up so they don't hear and they don't listen and they don't learn. And then they go do harmful things unto tons of people. But they wake up in the morning like everything is fine. I'm a good person. I know I'm a good person. And I'm telling them, no, they're not. They're not. But then again, they start muting us down. We don't want to hear that negativity. There they go. They're in their bubble universe. That's how that happens. I listen to everybody, even if they're a pile of shit. Like, so, just to see where people are at. I don't like it, because some days it's really bad. Mostly on your mental health, when you're reading this stuff, it's really like, ugh. But you have to do it because these people exist and you got to know what you're up against. It's like, that's just the thing. When I fail to understand that people are so blind to such transgressions, one thinking that prevails, especially among middle classes, oh, I don't care what accusations are pending against this fellow, as long as he helps to get what I want. These wishes are mostly personal agendas. Jobs in foreign countries, seats in educational institutions, U.S. visas, or buy a house. Yeah, the buy a house thing, etc. Their houses burned down. They got served. And occasionally medical elements, understandably. Oh, yeah, that's the desperation, right? When you have medical problems. So what did Baba do? He opened up a hospital, right? You guys are desperate, down and desperate for your health issues, but he's going to cure you. Other than that, there is no desire to engage with life or religion in a more meaningful way. Unfortunately, I have friends who are unwilling to hear anything contradictory to their skewed view about this Baba bloke. All my attempts have been futile, whatever. So now when they start on about his greatness, I request them to refrain from making any such comments in my presence, in the same way that they do not want me to speak my mind about such charlatans. Again, keep up the good work. Yeah, exactly. Apparently, we're supposed to sit down and take it in, and then they don't respect us, and then they start in with their "we are blessed" bullshit. I'm like, you know how assholery that is? It is. But they don't see it. Again, in their bubble universe, they don't see how shitty ass that kind of comment is in the perspective of everything here. So, like, somehow God said you're special and gave you some shit. I was like, but they'll say this shit, and I go, the most recent one was, I was running across, because they're talking about the fires and stuff, and they said these 3 trees, or I don't know, there was a group of trees that didn't burn down, and they were calling them the God trees. And I'm like, but you do realize the houses are made from trees, and they must have not have been blessed. The houses, God's like, you know what? Fuck these houses, dude. I'm going to save a couple trees. But they come up with this shit. And I'm like, somehow in their rationale, it sounds good and positive. I have no idea. I was like, I don't know. I was like, that's funny. But they said it, so I'm just throwing it back. I was like, really? Well, that doesn't say much about how God thinks of you. If you're saying that he doesn't want your houses. He said, fuck your houses. He's like, but I'm gonna keep these trees as a reminder that I don't care about you, but the trees are more important. These trees right here that I didn't burn down. I don't know, but that's what they were going on about. I go, that's right. You're being punished. You got the backhand of God is what happened right there. You got the backhand of fucking God. I was like, for your evil all this time, stealing all the houses. No, it's a long time thing. Them stealing the houses, them denying cash aid to people in the other fires that happened at the same time of the year. The media's lying. The fires happen every year at that time. And also during those fires, they made people go in the street because they were calling poor people drug addicts and mentally ill. And they were saying that if they gave them money, they would spend it all on drugs. I go, I cannot believe this shit is going on. So government committed a hate crime on people who are not rich during the fires in the past. Okay, it was really disgusting. So they threw them in the street. I have major proof that they did that. And I caught them right before the fire, too. It was so crazy. So we're in investigations at the time for LAPD and all this other stuff. But this actually wasn't part of the investigation. This was a separate thing. And I went into one of the offices and I was asking them about the hotel vouchers. It was like weeks before the fire. Weeks, okay? And they go, oh, we don't give those out here anymore. Some bullshit. And I go, that is bizarre. So I didn't know why they took it away. And then I go, oh, it makes sense as to why all these homeless people were out in the area. Because one of the things that the county was supposed to be doing was giving hotel vouchers and shelter to people that were displaced. Now, they're displaced every day of the week because they do tons of evictions and other things like that. So it was supposed to be in place. Now, I didn't think anything further about it yet until the fire happened. And then let me tell you what evil that government did here. So when we were at Red Cross, they had no shelter in place, okay? So when the Red Cross leaves, there was nowhere to put people. And so the Red Cross, LA County, and LAPD got together and gave gutter maps to go live on the street. So they told everybody you could go sleep on the street, on these streets in LA, in this area, that area. So I have the copies of those, so it's real. It's not just made up anything. So they gave these copies out, and then the media was there. Did the media post this? No. So then they go for a resource center to go get hotel vouchers and gas vouchers. They said, drive to Lakeview Terrace. Now, keep in mind, nobody got a dime from government for the fires. So people were struggling with gas money, okay, at this point. Because we were in Red Cross already for, what, it was like over a week or two. And then they said, go to Lakeview Terrace and get gas vouchers and hotel vouchers. That's what I was told. And so I drove there. Now, here's the people that were there. The mayor's office, LAPD, the fire department, and DPSS. That was about it. And then there was one organization that was not in tie with government. They were a Buddhist organization, and they snuck in $100 gift card for some people, and they were not part of that thing. So government didn't give any money, no cash aid, and no shelter, okay? So those people don't count, okay, in this, what we're talking about. So, and people didn't even know that existed. They said they went there and they didn't even get that. So that's horrible, okay? So when I got there, the media was all there. They had bleachers and everything. The media sitting there getting this information, right? Government's feeding them lies, okay, to the media. And I show up and I'm ready to talk to the media, man. I was like, fuck this shit right here. So I go, they tell me go talk to DPSS to talk about these voucher things. And I go to them and they go, oh no, we give vouchers for the hotel. Go down there right now and come back. And so they did this like airdrop thing at the location. And they said, drive there. And I go, I don't have any gas, man. I gotta go. Wait, I'm like literally out of gas. And I came here to get gas vouchers and they didn't have any, right? Nobody had anything there. So I drive anyway to the office where they told me, and they said, come back afterwards. So I go to the office again. They said, we have no thing like that. Nothing. And I go, what the fuck? Yeah, I was so mad at this point. At this point, I was like fuming. And I go, I'm going to go tell the media when I come back. So I come back. And I go back up to the guy and I go, they said, no, they don't. He's like, what? That's weird. We always do that. That doesn't make any sense. And I go, well, where's the media? They go, well, they were right there. They must have left. I go, oh, no, you did not. You did not. So ultimately what happened, they threw all the people on the street. They didn't give them anything. No gas vouchers, no hotels. Nothing. And then later, government's goons came out to go kidnap people and throw them onto this damn system. I go, you know how effed up this is? And you guys promoted this kind of shit? And then right now, I go, why do you think they're offering cash aid right now? Because their rich piece of shit pals got harmed in this. That's why. Not because they care. It's because they're rich fucking piles of shit and people that work in government, people that were being this evil, vindictive pile of shit. They're like, we got to actually give some money out right now. Yeah. No. You guys do not understand the evil of these people. That's the truth. And I found it out in the worst way. You wouldn't know this stuff unless you go through it. How would you know that? And how would you know that Eric Garcetti's a piece of shit? He was supposed to be at that location. Where was he? You know what he did? He put 2 women there to take information for him. Because he's a spineless, coward weasel that cannot face the music of the shit that he did. And so I said, can you leave him a message from me to fuck off? I gave them a pretty choice message to send to them. They're like, we will certainly give that to him. I go, give him something else, my middle finger. So yes, he did that. And so I was like, wow. And I've been talking about it actually for the past 7 years. So to tell me that these rich people, were so caring and empathetic, what the hell did they do? Did they give me cash aid? No, they didn't. Nobody did. 0 people did. From government? No. I go, how am I supposed to pay my creditors? How am I supposed to do these things? I have a job. I work at home. If I don't have a home, we cannot work, right? I've been working for 20 some odd years with my business. So it's not like, I just started up a thing and don't work. Okay, this is not what happens. That's how I sustain my living. So in this point, government turns around and wants to figure out a way to get money from me from a lawsuit. I go, can you be any more dirt scum? I'm literally fighting a housing case that LA County okayed for inhabitability. And government is in here trying to grift off me to see if they can get some money out of the outcome of the lawsuit. I go, are you fucking kidding me? In the middle of this fire. I go, I cannot. You cannot. My lawyer had to protect me from that. My lawyer protected me from signing that document. I go, I cannot believe they tried to do this through DPS. They tried to do it through that office, you guys. I go, I don't know what to tell you. I go, they're disgusting. You just wouldn't know it unless you had to go through that. I go, I was reading it and I was like, there's something wrong with this sentence right here. Because legally, if they don't define something, they can add anything to it. So, such as large sum. What the fuck is a large sum? Only recently did I hear them now defining large sum. Now they go, if you have any income, like a lottery winning. They go, if you have a lottery winning now of this much amount to this much, you need to report it. Okay, but prior to this, you guys, they put large sum. Large sum to government is $20. So anybody can insert what they consider large sum into that and try to go after you. And I saw this and I go, I cannot believe they put this in here. What the fuck does that mean? So I asked the lady, I go, what does large sum mean? Because to me, 100K, maybe that's a large sum. But to a rich person, like $1 million is a large sum. Everybody has a different perception of what large sum means, right? So even to a homeless person might consider $100 a large sum because they don't see any money all the time, right? So, okay. So she goes, oh, I don't know, 10 grand. I go, you think 10 grand is a large sum? What is your taxes? How much do you make a year? If you think 10 grand is a large sum and you could live in California, well, let me know. Because that can't get you through. So to me, 10K is not a large sum. That's half of what, okay, if you get about 20K, that's the basic minimum of living, right? Like, you could probably rent a place and have some extra on you. Maybe somewhere around there. I'm not doing math right now, but something like that. But she said 10K. I go, you think 10K is a large sum? See? Perception problem here. So, that's poverty. But government tried to sucker people so they could fake crusade and legally go after poor people signing that document. I go, how long has this been going on? How long has this been going on? Nobody reads the documents because they're desperate and want help. So when they go in there, they just assume everything, whatever they say, right? They don't read the documents. Then they get me and they're annoyed to shit and have a lawyer with me, which they're not used to. And they're treating me like a rich Karen. I go, this is not what's going on though. So, yeah, and they start treating me like shit. I go, this is the craziest thing. I'm getting treated like shit from both sides of the coin, okay? We're getting treated like we're some rich Karen from Bel Air. Yeah, because I came from Bel Air. But they don't know why I came from Bel Air. And then we have these assholes over here that are treating me, at the group of treating me like I'm rich Karen. And then, the opposite of them treating me like I'm poor and I was pushing a shopping cart. Like, this is just the hate on this whole thing is just, it's been unreal. And they're shit people all around, everybody in this. Like, there's just shit people. I go, and it didn't end there because then they started throwing people in illegal housing. Which, how did we get here to begin with? Me suing for inhabitability. And then these people got their houses burned and they want me to cry about it? Let me tell you, I'm sitting here going, I told these people, I go, one day you're going to get yours. One day, the universe has a way, man. The universe has a way of getting people back. I don't know. It's just part of the universe. Like, bad things happen to people. I go, they're so arrogant. They're piles of shit. And then their whole fucking universe burns down. And I'm just sitting here going, I didn't do a damn thing. I'm sitting at my house and it eventually happened. And there you go. Now they're homeless beggars. They're up in here panhandling. They think somehow them panhandling is somehow okay. But a poor person that actually needs it without resources is a criminal. Kiss my ass, dude. Like, that was the crazy thing about the whole thing. But they want me to cry for them. I cry for the people that are not a part of this shit, okay? That they literally probably did work really hard and got a house. They're not being part of, let's throw homeless in the street, people in the street doing this kind of crap. The people that are in control of that are the rich and these assholes over here. They're the ones actually jacking up the house prices. There's a whole thing to that. So I was like, yeah, no, those people up in the Palisades, like those assholes over there. There's a lot of them. There is a lot of people. My friend's houses got burned down. I go, that's nice. Were you crying for me? Were you crying for me online, honey? No, you weren't. So am I supposed to be upset for your friends? See, you weren't crying for me. I'm not your friend. So am I supposed to cry for your friends? I don't think so. So I guess, to end that out, I'm going to put links to the videos of the lady that was connected to Baba's sister. And the other video that this guy sent me yesterday that tailed this off. That shit was crazy. That led me down. I was like, what in the... Yeah, Isaac. Isaac is the biggest nutcase out here. He had some audio. I don't know where he got it from. I was trying to figure out. So, like, the one video I think might be from 2004 because he looks pretty young there. And in 2012, he looks like a homeless guy. He looks really old and down and out there in 2012. And then, no, I don't know where he's been since. Is he still alive? So, yeah, there was a lot in that. So I was like, yeah, the deeper operations of his brain. He's a psychopath. He straight up is. Like, he's the guy. It's not even, I'm so brainwashed. It's that he's just downright evil. He's calculated and he's evil. Like, what devotees going on like this? Okay, so I know you guys believe in the people that left and everything. It's like, were you sitting there thinking like this? Because to compare yourself to that person right there, were you sitting there going, I'm calculated. I started stalking everyone out. And I know that this and that and this and that. If you were going on like that, I would question your sanity too. So he has a very different type of brain structure, like the way it's wired. And yeah, that should like, and he's manicky. Like, he definitely is. He has the eyeball thing going on, everything crazy going on over there. So yeah, that person is something else. Like, it's something else. That's all I could say. Like, they sent me to this video and I was like, oh my God. So again, you have to question Dan Aykroyd. So how are you in business with this guy that is clearly off kilter, like clearly off the rails? Well, are they too? Maybe. That's the thing. I don't know them. I cannot tell you personally what the F be going on there and how they got Magic Johnson into this thing too. It's really crazy because that guy actually seems like this nice guy that's out, he likes to help people and all that. But is he part of this too? He can be, because that's the personality traits of this cult. So I was like, I have no idea. It just could be a thing that he just saw that there was opportunity where they led him in and said, we're doing this and it helps your community and to get you involved, and then suckered him into this thing. I'm thinking it's more that. I could be wrong though, but I'm thinking it's more that. And then they got him involved in that. And then he just started, being, Mr. Philanthropist, and doing these things. But he just gets suckered into these cult people to legitimize, to try to seem, on its outside, that it legitimizes them as who they are. And then Isaac was pointing out, he's like, seeing the Madonnas in this, I already know. Well, that's why you got them, right? Because having Madonna and having the Beatles and all those things, and he was with the wife, right? That was the crazy thing. He actually has a real connection with them. And he's manipulating it, flipping it all around, saying, oh, because they put that out there, they're going to sit there and say all these things. It's like, no. You purposely got these people to put legitimacy to your cult. That's the main thing about it. But Madonna's very hoity. What is she? Her and her damn Kabbalah shit, and all that, where I could see her falling into that as well, because it sort of goes together, right? It's like, hi, we're, these loving people and we're out here to help people. And then they're just downright evil. So I don't know her thing involved in that. It's just the connectors to these people, and you could see it and why they would be. There's actually an explanation, because she went into that, and those would be the people you would run across. And you would get into that. And thinking the same way all these other people. I love this lone devotee, but this is in 2013. Now, in 2013, these are the comments that I would get all these like weird comments. So in 2013, the cult was still going, even though he died. Okay, so they go like this. They're like, no words to spare on fools like you. just because I know I could prove you all wrong, and then doesn't. Nice way to fill your stomach, pity. This is not P. Diddy. What is it, pity? May Swami save you all. Oh, God. I know that, but he has to be used to that. Because he was in the cult, and he knows what psychotics these people are going to become. And it's just like, me, I just started bringing up the story, and like all these like fucking cult people started like saying this weird shit to me. And I'm like, I don't really even know all the things about the cult yet, but they're just saying stupid shit. But you get these guys, but you could tell they're just uneducated. Even just by the post, it's like, I can prove you wrong. Yeah. And then nothing, right? Nothing. When I was 21, I met a devotee who was really a good person, and she helped me through a very trying and difficult time in my life. She was always talking about Baba with so much love and admiration. I know, I'm so disgusted by women going on like this too. But a couple of years later, I became a follower too. And they said thing is that, I think they mean the sad thing. The sad thing is that I have always been a logical person, and I wondered, how could I have been so stupid? Well, because the woman that's helping you is probably a decent human that got suckered in, and so you're basing the good person off the person she's getting manipulated by, maybe. But, and of course, you can never talk to the other devotees about this because they will hate you for life. Yeah, just like Christians, right? So if you tell them this thing, they hate you for life, right? That's how you know you're in a cult. So this has been a real nightmare for me because there's been no one for me to talk to about this. I felt so alone in this. The women, oh, they were asking the other lady too, do you think that the sister of Baba knew the evil of him? And she thinks that she was ignorant to all the bad, but I would... because when they were explaining after the murders, they dropped off a bunch of diamonds and rubies to them, that it's kind of like, hi, you're getting a payoff to not say shit. And trying to I think their thinking about that was when the cops were coming or any other person investigating, that he was hoarding money when he was saying he didn't have any. Like he was playing a game. I mean, the dude was a multi-billionaire. So he starts hiding money in places of value, things of value. And he started he said he had people send each person like a big envelope of rubies and diamonds and things. And I think the thought was to get rid of it out of the room where they were at with all the dead bodies and things too as well. But it's like a payoff too as well on top of it. And to say that she's that ignorant, it's more of a look away, don't say anything, let it be. But as far as like him raping everybody, yeah, like she might be ignorant to that. Like I don't know that she would know that. But you have to sit there and question, why is he living in a room with a bunch of men? That was the same thing with the Jesus story. I go, these guys are gay men in a closet. And they're doing all this conduct, and they're abusing their position of power and raping young boys. And in this case, I believe it was young girls and boys, but mostly boys, because he liked boys, so he would live with the boys, and he would grope all the little boys and everybody else. And so it was, and then he murdered them. The contradiction of his religion, right? It totally was. So I was just like, yeah, I don't know, you guys. But who hasn't been like this? These Christians are out there going, oh, we need to do the death penalty. And I'm like, but your doctrine says thou shalt not murder. Well, we're going to justify that by saying, it's this other thing. I'm not Christian, so I'm not 1,000% against the DP, but I'm for the DP and very I mean, it is so limited. Like the cases that it would be for is so limited that it wouldn't be the people that they're bringing up most of the time. Like I would have been for the DP for Ted Bundy. I'm fine with that. Like I don't have any issue with that. There's no question under the sun that fool did that shit. Like it's it's very rare. It wouldn't be because some guy killed a cop like about 50 million years ago, and then they're like, we need to give him the DP. It's just like, what is that? Like, is it, you already spent this much time in prison, keep him there. You know, like, but then there's these other cases where there's a little question to if they actually did it. And then they're like, we're going to do the DP. And I'm like, I don't feel good about that. Like those, and then they end up killing people that were innocent. And I'm like, no, see that right there? No. So their argument to just getting rid of the DP was for the basis of that. But there are cases where they do fit. There's no question. And really, you're just wasting time and rotting on the planet. But honestly, that's the good part of the story. If they did that, it's like giving them some peace because they're not stuck in their own head all the time. But, you know, you could argue those things. But no, they've been sitting there promoting. Now they're promoting DP for child molesters under 12. And yet they've been pulling in people that actually didn't do that crime because one of the cases was, oh, God. It wasn't because, you know, people are making up stuff. It's just that one of the cases, there was a kid that went to report that this person touched them, right? The person did. But then they were told to say it was somebody else because the perpetrator manipulated the kid to say it was somebody else to protect the perpetrator. So this other guy goes to jail. And so what? They're going to give that guy the DP. And then 20 years later, the kid comes out and they're now an adult and said, oh, the perpetrator told me to say it was that guy. That's the case that we're like, oh, shit, no. Because it happens because the perpetrators are such manipulators and they got this other person in prison for it. And it's not the victim's fault because the victim is the child victim to the perpetrator. The perpetrator's manipulating. It's like the devotees are getting manipulated by the perpetrator. And so the main culprit in these things is the perpetrator. Just like in the Lori Vallow case, the main perpetrator is Chad Daybell. Yet they focus on the victims that they draw into the case. And just like Allison Mack, it's not Allison Mack, it's Keith Raniere. And so because they keep doing that, they've been justifying it even in Charles Manson, right? So Charles Manson is the main perpetrator. He drew in a bunch of idiots, but they try to say, well, he didn't actually do anything. No, he actually did do something. So he's the puppet master. The puppet master is the person that then manipulates a bunch of other people to go do their evil. That's your psychotic right there. So yeah, they have chronically looked away from this. Well, as long as they're not the one physically doing it. It's like, no. And that's not to take away accountability from Allison Mack. Like, she should have been smart enough to know, like, I shouldn't be doing things against anybody's will. However, she would have never done that. Here's the thing. She would have never done that had she not have met Keith Raniere. It's not a typical conduct of hers. I just say that story's so weird because I worked with her and I don't even really remember her on this set, but we both at the same time ran across the LOA cult. But I didn't run across Keith Raniere. I didn't run across the secondary sect out of that. I don't know how that happened, but for some reason she ran with the people that I got lured to by this other piece of shit at my job, who's the one that I was saying pointed out Tom Arnold, who it wasn't Tom Arnold, it was the other guy from Roseanne that has connections with the Sai Baba people. Okay. It's so crazy. The story's so whack. And she leads me. It was her because I just remembered I have CDs still from her giving me that Ramtha cult shit. And she was going, here, go this, that, this, the other. And for some reason I was mixing up this other girl because she's my other friend, the other one I hung out with all the time. No, it was this girl, and she's like, oh, here's this CD copy. Here, go this. They're going to have this opening at this thing. And I go, okay, cool. So I go, and I have no idea it's part of a cult. I have no idea under the sun it's part of a cult. I just think it's a bunch of people that are in science going, well, what if this and what if that? I go, that's interesting. I never even thought of that. So we're not stupid. I'm definitely not a stupid person. So I'm just in there kind of like, I don't particularly see anything wrong. And that's the intro. But that's the intro. That's how they lure you in. That's the dangling carrot. It has to be legit at the intro. Otherwise you wouldn't step into that hell. You would look at it right away and go bullshit. Now there were people that looked at it right away and said bullshit because they're in those fields and they're just like, okay, this is taking something that, like, it's so close to the, it's hard to explain. It's like, they're in that field and they would literally look at that and go, well, what if, this possibility? So we'll do research, like they'll do research on stuff, but they took it and turned it into a religion and said, well, what if this? Okay, so that means that your brain can literally control the universe. That's where it went. Versus we're going to test it out and then nothing happens, right? It's bullshit and it's not a fact. It's not any of these things. We're just, questioning, the probabilities of XYZ. PhDs, man. That shit, it was crazy. I was like, you know what? And yeah, at a point, it was like I don't think that everybody involved in that fully comprehended the outcome of those other things. The hippy dippy dude is so funny. Like, I don't even hate him right now. I don't even know if I don't know if he's even part of the cult. I don't know if it was a thing that the cult goes, we like what you're teaching because we think it's part of our shit to validate our belief system. And the guy's just this like hippy dippy dude from like the 60s who's just like, isn't this the greatest thing to learn about quantum physics? And it could do this and that. And wouldn't it be I don't know. It's just like, I don't know. But if you really take that to town, Psychoville, papers freed my mind. It does the best job I've seen at describing, exposing, and freeing the minds of the brainwashed. Many things happened in our subconscious, often under desirable actions result. The Guru Papers expose how I and others have a tendency to act impulsively and unconsciously, and why and how we do so, and a tendency to succumb to ideologies that are neither in harmony with oneself nor in balance with the reality that we as humans all share this world. I now act and think in more true accord with my own feelings and ability. But, well, the people at the beginning were acting out on their feelings innocently and in a way that more beneficial for myself and others. I owe the authors much gratitude for expanding my mind's ability to think abstractly, thoroughly, and more objectively and creatively. The Guru Papers unlocked my biased view of this world. Yeah, the biased view. So, and it helped me to see the truth. Gurus abuse their power. Yeah. Again, all it is a personality disordered human, usually a man. But in the LOA thing, there was actually a female, or I don't know if it's a transgender. I've been questioning this. And it only matters because the upbringing of the male versus the female. And so I have no idea. That has been the question actually on Ramtha over there. And it would matter. It would matter. It's not the fact that somebody is a transgender. It's the fact that their upbringing, which is the thing that causes these PD disordered, things, because women and men were raised quite differently. And the mindset is very different. Like, men are very, they are very entitled, and they are taught, a whole bunch of series of different things when they're growing up due to this bullshit here. And so their criminal conduct will be different when they're older. Like, they're going to do different things. And so it matters on that level of things. So I was like, yeah, I don't know. I was like, I don't know. She'd be acting a man though. I can't tell you, but she runs that whole thing, and the whole town apparently is a cult, her cult. And then she made the Southern poverty law thing because of her views about, oh wow, she's like, it's weird. She's like yeah, she says like some anti-Semitic stuff. She said racist stuff. She said all kinds of stuff, crazy stuff. And yet the her devotees, the one guy is so famous right now. And I was just like, do you guys, but I don't think a lot of people know it. Like, I think when you go online, most people don't go down the rabbit hole. Okay. The rabbit hole is hell. Once you go down that rabbit hole, you're going to see all this crazy stuff. But you just see this guy and he's out here just talking and it sounds philosophical and it sounds totally logical. It sounds reasonable. It's like, what seems wrong with this? It seems totally harmless. But that's her devotee. And they have found a million ways to market and manipulate. They have a lot of money. They do a lot of ads on YouTube. It's absolutely nuts. And they get 10 million views. And I'm like, I'm actually horrified because that wasn't going on yet when we're talking about all this stuff. And I was like, how do they get more popular during this Keith Raniere thing? So they mentioned Keith Raniere and they actually said the people that were working on the set with that guy somehow ended up into Keith Raniere's cult. And then it went there. And they're just stem offs. They're just hybrids. They're just people running off the same bullshit. Yet this guy is way popular now. And I'm just like, okay. And this is that point where it's like you promote somebody for a moment and then you realize, holy shit. And then you're like, I want to take that back. You know, you gotta put that information out that these people are not great. And you're going to end up with the Xenu and you're not going to know how you got there. So I'm trying to like, you know, put that information out. And I don't think meditation's bad or any of the general things. I think some of those things can be good, but it depends how you're doing it. These people are brainwashed and they're brainwashed into doing stuff, you know, for this guy, versus it being used as a, you know, to help with your stress or, you know, visualize what you like in the world, just, you know, normal mental health stuff. But, yeah, now they have guided meditation. So the guided, audio leads you into their stuff. There was another form of meditation that was done by another woman that I used to follow, which I didn't really get anything out of it. It works for her. But I don't see anything evil or bad about it either. And it's just very self-aware, sitting up. It's not even like the laying down, try to go into another state thing. It's just sitting there. And it's like, if you get totally distracted, just it's fine and come back. And that's the end of it. And that's pretty much it. And that's her thing. And she got it from Buddhism. I don't know. She does this whole other thing. There isn't anything in it on its own that is bad. Now, I don't know what else she believes in, but she really likes, I think she likes the Dalai Lama. Okay, so there's a lot of other things that people believe in that the extension of what some of these people believe in could be bad. But the action on its own of just doing that isn't bad. It was like, whatever. I'm just saying, because we've done a bunch of different things, and I go, it depends who you're, you know, messing with here. So I'm fortunate to know that even highly educated and otherwise rational people from India, a high court judge, an ENT surgeon, I respect a lot, for instance, believe in Baba. I was like, yeah. But your efforts are indeed commendable. Even people who are educated are not educated on everything. It's not like they're educated across the board on everything. You're ignorant. You're ignorant. You're going to have ignorance everywhere. You could be the highest IQ ever, but you still have ignorance in places. Who else was ignorant? Einstein. Einstein was an idiot in areas. So it was actually interesting because I go, yeah, we know Einstein allegedly had a high IQ, yet he's an idiot when it comes to like male supremacist shit and his viewpoint on women and things like that. He's highly stupid. And so I was like, so it's not across the board. Like, what are we defining for IQ? Only the things that men think that matter. We could put it like that. And you could start to question how they measure people's IQ. And yeah, there was a lot to that. I go, yeah, so he's actually a moron in this area. So it doesn't mean educated on what, right? So I'm more educated in a lot of areas than you probably, but you're probably more educated on a lot of other things that I'm not, which I would be totally stupid in trying to tackle, right? So it doesn't really mean much, because educated on what? You're educated now because you got screwed up the behind. Now you're educated. Now, if you go back, you're just an idiot. So now you're educated. Did you get that education in school? Hell no. They promote this kind of shit throughout. So, you know, it's the ignorance is there because there's no education on it. You have to learn. It's a learned education, and you learn the hard way. I'm first to say I'm the worst on history. Do not even, do not even start a battle with me on history shit. I was like, okay, you could come at me with some cult shit. I'm going to probably take you down. But no, like, it's so funny because I was like, yeah, I'm highly educated. Well, science was one of my top topics up until I got this like female teacher who was not very good. Okay, like what she's teaching might be good, but her way of teaching wasn't great. So you don't take in what she's trying to convey. So some people just have a nature to be able to do that. Some people don't. So for whatever reason, the minute I got this female, everything went downhill. I mean, it wasn't terrible, but it made me not so interested in science anymore. And in school anyways, but yeah, it was interesting. So yeah, I was fine up until that moment. And no, I mean, that's just what happens. I mean, that's just the toss of the dice with that thing. But educated on a shitload of things. It would be impossible to be educated on every topic of the world. You could have the highest IQ. It is impossible, and you have to know this, that you don't know fucking everything. I was like, I mean, it's really that. But I could be very confident that I'm educated on certain topics, and I'm not going to let people take me down on those. So, such as rape and sexual assaults and some of the history of women. I'm actually not very educated on the history of women because we didn't have it, and neither are you. So, for us, I have to go self-teach myself that and figure it out. And I'm learning through other people because they're telling me. And I'm like, well, I didn't know anything about that. How am I supposed to know about it, right? If nobody taught you, you're ignorant. So we were ignorant about the history of people of color as well. We were ignorant about the history of the Indians. We're ignorant about all these things. You could be the most educated person, but if you don't know that exists and you only got taught one thing, I could be the stupidest in those areas right there, and I'm going to be. And so then I could say stupid shit, and then I don't know anything about it. But it doesn't mean my IQ is low. But again, what are we defining our IQ here? There's a lot of questions to that. That's what I said. I go, it was one of those things. So don't question white man's authority, because that's the shit. That's the outline that they wanted to create. And I'm like, those guys are a bunch of dumb idiots. But they're saying they have high IQs. I go, but I don't know. What are we basing it on? Only the things that matter to white men.